Welcome to the Johnny Dell Football Academy podcast on the channel that's trying to answer the whys and hows of the game by talking through and dissecting game film and diving deeper to explain why the X's zig and the O's zag. I am Adam Marino, joined by Mr. Johnny Dell, and we are reminding you, as always, the most fun way to watch is on YouTube, where we go live. There you can comment into the live show. Be sure to hit the notification bell and turn on your notifications so you can be a part of the conversation. We also stream live on Facebook and X. Also, the audio versions are always found on Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts. Now, if you are live with us in the chat, it's probably because you are subscribed, you've hit the notification bell, and turned those notifications on. So, when sharing with your friends, be sure to let them know. We also love to hear from you outside of our live show. Email us at johnnydellsfootballacademy@gmail.com, and you can always check out the website jfa49.com, as it is the most fun way to support the channel. Also, the way we boost the chat and boost the algorithm is to type out hashtag JD49. Happy Halloween. It's weird doing a show on Halloween, having no kids.
It's scary.
Yeah, spooky season is upon us. I was spooked out of my mind watching football last night. That was like annoying. I stuck around to watch Foo Fighters. That was more interesting. Foo Fighters on Amazon was more interesting to me than Tua and whatever Mike McDaniels was calling. All right.
Well,
What up,
look,
Johnny?
I don't even have that much of a problem with what Mike McDaniels was calling. I mean, it was like what was it, halfway through the third quarter, they were leading by total yards. I'd almost doubled up the Ravens' offensive production in total yards, but we're down by 2 scores.
Field goal, some stuff. Yeah.
Well,
The fourth and two call, the running back against Hamilton there. What I just
Well, no. So that wasn't so I was watching Prime Vision.
Me too.
So I was watching from
That's all I watch.
Right.
Yes.
Which look, I like and I don't like. There's so much data that's coming at you when you watch from that viewpoint that you can, like, for me, I can either only watch the defense or only watch the offense because I can't catch everything that the offense did at one moment from that viewpoint. If it's a big sideline view, it's easier for me to see, like an all 22. But I remember I watched that and I saw the defense. I'm like, they're in cover 0. Tua's got to attack the middle of the field, and they had a slant to the left. The slant was wide open. That's where you look to go against a cover 0, is generally over the middle of the field. Why Tua threw a slot fade to a running back against 0 when you have the middle of the field open? I don't understand that at all on 4th and 2. Like, that is one of those Tua decisions that he needs to make more sense than that. So, like, that to me, that's the Dolphins in a nutshell this year. Like, there's some play calls that don't make sense, but there's just so many things of on-field decisions, and it's not just Tua. It's a lot of things on the field that just don't make any sense of why it's happening the way it is. Because, I mean, they were moving the ball, they were being productive. It's not like the Ravens defense is all world, but you have 2 fumbles, you have a bad pick, you have a false start on your guard on 4th and 1, and then you go to kick a field goal and miss a field goal, and you have your quarterback try for the slot fade on 4th and 2. None of these, against 0 blitz, none of these things make sense. And the Dolphins, unfortunately for Mike McDaniels, look like a team that is continually trying to find ways to lose. And I don't know what is, like, I don't know what is going on inside that building between Tua and Mike McDaniels and the rest of the players. There's clearly something wrong.
They don't know either.
Like, well, I'm just meaning, like, when you have something like that, there is clearly something there where Tua either doesn't trust Mike McDaniels anymore, or he's just trying to say, I'm gonna win my way. I'm not gonna there, or that there's such friction there between those two that, I mean, like, that is a severe disconnect when that's happening, and you could see Mike McDaniel's face. Either that or Mike McDaniel's has lost his mind and forgotten how to really have any sort of pressure answers. Um, there's something wrong. I mean, obviously that's kind of like saying water's wet, but like when I see a play like that, I go, there's some sort of severe disconnect here. I don't know, and I don't know if it's from the times that Mike McDaniels has been so certain. Okay, we do this. We're going to break the coverage rules of the defense, and it's not going to be necessarily a traditional passing concept. We're gonna get this guy open, and so I just want you to turn and throw the ball to this spot, and doing those things, and it didn't quite work out the way they wanted, and that ends up in interceptions or different negative plays for Tua. Do you start losing trust in your head coach and say, okay, I just don't trust him when he tells me that this is going to be there anymore, or he says that this is going to be there, or that's the way this plays. I'm going to make my own luck. I'm going to make if I'm going to take the heat for it, I'm going to make, take actually it be my fault. I don't know. There's just looks really dysfunctional from the outside. Of course, that has been the Dolphins' modus operandi for decades, is to be dysfunctional. So, I mean, I it sucks for them, but you can't always put it just like that. They're the reason that the Dolphins are dysfunctional. They are perpetually dysfunctional. I mean, remember, Nick Saban went to the Dolphins and then famously decided to leave and go to Alabama, because they offered him 5 mil, because he just didn't want to deal with the owner structure there. I mean, so, um, when Nick Saban's like, "Yeah, nah, this is dysfunctional in here. I'm out early. I'm peace on y'all." It's just yeah.
So let's shift. I want to get to, yes, the super chat.
For super chat.
Thank you, Cayman Islands podcast. Definitely check out his podcast. Do you agree that if Healthy Purdy should start to knock the rust off, I feel this would be a good test to see where he's at? But that turf scares me. Yeah, and the Giants D line scares me. Where are you at on this?
I'm the same way. Like, I don't want to feed Mac Jones to the Lions, and you don't want to give up the chance to beat a team that is 2-6 because you just say, well, we're gonna trot Mac Jones out there because we're scared that our quarterback's going to get hurt facing their defensive line at MetLife. That's not a good approach. To say, well, we're going to punt a game against a team that most likely will not be in the playoffs, because we're scared of injury. If you ever go into a game scared your players are going to get hurt, then you're in the wrong line of business. But I mean, look, the fact was, looking at the Houston tape, the more games we have of Mac Jones, the more hilarious the quarterback controversy between the two starts to look. That's not to say Mac Jones is a bad player. It highlights that Brock Purdy is a very, very good quarterback. He has been criminally underrated by so many people, and the 49ers are a much better team when Brock is healthy and he's out there. He just is. He brings a lot more. He brings more mobility. He brings more accuracy. He brings a higher level of processing and eye manipulation. Like, Brock's eye manipulation of the defense is such a high level. It is so just overlooked. People see it and they go, "Oh wow, yeah, that was pretty cool." And you go, no, you don't understand. Like, this, there's some quarterbacks that they can do this if they're told, like, if you get this look and we practice it, you're going to look this direction and then you're going to throw. Brock has the ability to do that, like play in and play out no matter what the defense throws at him. He usually is able to use some sort of eye manipulation, and he's able to harvest the data that is given pre-snap, which is extremely difficult. There are very few brains in the world that can handle that kind of stuff. And the way he does it at such a high level, it was like, so you're watching Prime Vision last night, Adam. They talked about the Dolphins are the highest motion percentage
I knew you were
in
gonna
the
say that.
league.
Yep.
And I talked about it I think it was even before the season. It was after Brett Coleman's video came out, and he was talking about how Brock Purdy is like, give me all the motions, all the shifts of motions. I know I talked about it with Rob on his show that we do on Thursdays. When I went back, because it was like, well, the 49ers were, such and such ranked of motion percentage, and the Dolphins were number one. And so I went and I watched 3 games of the Dolphins, their tape. And the thing that struck out to me just from me watching their tape, I said, well, the majority of their motions are to set up run blocks in the run game. That's the vast majority of their motions. So, and shifts, like, they don't do these things necessarily for data harvesting or to create passing leverage all the time. They do it sometimes, but it's not as much for Tua. Quarterbacks would really prefer things to be static so that they can see it and then react to a change that happens post snap, than trying to see change, snap, change again. Brock has the ability to harvest data that way, that is just at a rate that might be the highest in the league. It might be like him and Patrick Mahomes, as far as, and maybe Matthew Stafford. Like, it's kind of like those 3 guys as far as the ability to use the shifts, the motions, and all that stuff to harvest data and operate a passing game from that. So, like, that's a really, good example of where Brock sets himself apart from so many quarterbacks in the league. That, you watch the Dolphins, and I saw it in the offseason. I was like, well, if they motion, it's like 75% of the time that they motion, it's going to be a run. That's just how it is. And then they said it last night. It was like 71% of the time that they motion, it's a run. And I was like, well, that about met my eye test from what I was just kind of cataloging in the brain. And so, like, we don't have as much of that now with Mac Jones. So it's like you miss the eye manipulation. You miss the ability to do things in your motions to help out your players. So, like, in every way, the offense is just, there's a ceiling. There's a lower ceiling on it than it has with Brock. So if it's me, if Purdy is healthy, the last thing I want, though, is him to go out there and get a setback and be gone for another month. Like, we don't need Brock out until December, because November is one of the most important, in my opinion, like the most important month for a football team. That's the month that starts really shaking out who's playoff contenders and who's not. Like, who is, okay, we are looking forward to next year. November really starts separating that out. But yeah, anyways.
So, do you want to look at the things that the Giants do well on defense and go through that, or start with offense and shrivel at that Scattaboo injury? What do you want to do first?
Well, I mean, look, I said it yesterday with Rob. The 49ers' life got made easier with the injury to Cam Scattaboo, but that doesn't mean that we are happy for it in any way. I mean, that's a rough injury. It almost reminded me. I mean, it was worse than Fred Warner's, because Fred Warner's was a dislocation and a break. Cam Scattaboo's was a dislocation, a break, and he tore a ligament. It really almost reminded me of more of Garrison Hurst in 1998, is what Scattaboo's injury reminded me of. And if you remember, we've learned, the medical association has learned, especially with football injuries, from what happened with Garrison Hurst. And in times since then, Garrison had such a long recovery time because the bone started to die, because they didn't rush him immediately into surgery. It was kind of the classic, like, well, let's wait for some swelling to come down, because we don't want to risk infection, and then we'll deal with it. They didn't like just go that night into surgery. But when you have an injury in a ligament like that, the blood flow can get cut off to vital parts of the body. And when that happens, the vital parts of the body start to die. And so Garrison Hurst had a really long recovery for that. Cam Scatterbo, they got him into surgery that night. Like it was almost as quickly as they could get him in, get it diagnosed. They were like, let's get in there, let's get surgery, let's repair blood flow to what's going on there. So Scatterbo is going to be out 4 to 6 months, or 5 to 6 months, I think is the recovery period for Scatterbo. I mean, the kid was having a great rookie year. That just it just sucks watching
We talked
guys
about
who
him. I mean, we watched him at
yeah, I
Rookie
mean,
Day.
and he was a draft crush of a lot of people coming out of college, and for good reason. Like, I hate seeing these kids that come in, Scatterbo, like, he's setting himself up for that massive second contract, and that's great for him. And to have a kid just completely get because things like this can disrupt their career for years, because it just derails their progression, their setback time. Like, I hate seeing rookies get major injuries. It just sucks. But it does make life easier for the 49ers. So, I don't relish it. It's the facts, because Jackson Dart has gotten a lot of praise, and for good reason. I mean, he's been scoring touchdowns, and they become a team that is, I mean, that they beat the Eagles, which nobody was expecting. I mean, they trounced the Eagles, and then they turned around the next week and were trouncing the Broncos, and then had one of the most epic fourth quarter collapse in like NFL history, and lose by 1 point to the Broncos. They put 32 points on the Broncos, which is one of the best defenses in the league.
Yeah.
I mean, they're a phenomenal defense. And so, I mean, there's reasons that Jackson Dart has gotten a lot of praise. On the other side, if you look at the numbers, Jackson Dart, if you just look at numbers, you go, well, there's nothing there that scares me that much. I mean, honestly, his numbers are really close to Mac Jones. I mean, his completion percentage, 59.9%. Mac Jones, 65.9%. His yards per attempt, 6.9. Mac Jones, 7.1. His quarterback rating, 90.8. Mac Jones, 89. 3 interceptions for Dart, 5 interceptions for Mac Jones, 8 touchdowns for Dart, 8 touchdowns for Mac Jones. I mean, like, it's really similar numbers when you look at their play. So, he does have a better touchdown interception ratio. I mean, that's true. But like, you look at that and you say, yeah, he's a good young player. This isn't the same kind of, fear you have going in. Like, I'm less worried about Jackson Dart as I am against Sam Darnold with the Seahawks. Like, that's a tougher stop to me than going in and trying to stop Jackson Dart. The biggest thing you have to do with Jackson Dart, especially, and with all athletic young quarterbacks, is the off schedules, because that's the wild card. He's not going to consistently beat you just staying in the pocket. Like he's still learning. He's still seeing things that he's never seen before. It's the off schedules that, if you allow too many of them, then this becomes a wild card game. Like you just don't, anything can happen.
Yeah, I think turnovers can be a huge thing, because not only being a rookie, but like what you said, on the off schedule, maybe he doesn't see someone, tries to rip it in there, and we can get a pick, or he holds the ball too long. Maybe not usually for a rookie. He's doing, I think, pretty well. I've seen some games, but it still can happen, and hopefully we can get there. Maybe cause a turnover. He doesn't have Malik Neighbors either, so both teams are missing their number one receiver, as Terror Dome mentioned. I also want to mention what Don't Bother Me said. And shout out to Don't Bother Me real quick as well, because he also hangs out at Sports Idiot Nation, which you should be doing as well. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, our episode is out for Friday, talking college football, making fun of Tua, talking about the NFL matchups like Chiefs and Bills. But I do want to get to what he's asking, Johnny. How do the 49ers handle the D line of the Giants? And I want to make a reference to something that you said in your video. Be sure, if you have not checked out the video, I know that it's not fun and exciting when we just simply don't play well, but it is very educational. And I want to talk Colton McKivitz, because there was, in your video, you showed that he was trying to do the right thing, trying to make the right read. By the time he figured it out, Will Anderson, who we talked about before the game, that is really good player, that he just couldn't keep up. And that is the exact thing that I'm a little bit worried about. Can you speak on that?
Well, I mean, it's not just it's not just that like Colt McKivitz is just physically unable to block a guy like Will Anderson. Now, Will Anderson is a blue chip talent in this league, edge player talent in this league. So, I mean, he's one of the hardest guys to block. He's been extremely productive throughout his career so far. And then when you have a guy on the other side like Danielle Hunter, that is a lethal duo. That is the kind of duo that the 49ers had with Bosa and Bryce Huff. Bosa being in the Danielle Hunter role, Bryce Huff being in the Will Anderson role. Like, when you have a guy that can win really well at 5 yards, like Danielle Hunter can, he can win at 5 yards inside, or like running an inside move or an outside move or through your player move. And then you have a Will Anderson who wins at 7 yards, as well as anybody in this league. I mean, you're talking, it's like, when you talk about those winners at 7 yards, I mean, like that speed rush off the edge to win at the quarterback zone at 7 yards, because you want pass rushers to win at 7, 5, and 3. You want to have a complete pass rush plan so that quarterbacks have nowhere to go. They can't step up. They can't drop back. Like, when you have a guy that can win at 7 yards, it keeps quarterbacks at 5. So that guy at 5 can consistently get wins. And if you can win at 5 and you can win at 3, they have nowhere to continue stepping up. So they can't step up, they can't step back, they get sacked. And then whenever they do either one, everybody wins. The Texans had a very, very cohesive plan and the players to pull it off. That was what was frustrating me watching their defense. I was like, this is the same stuff we do. And it was like, if you go to the Atlanta game, the stuff that the Texans were doing in their game versus us, we were doing in the Atlanta game. And Bryce Huff had a stinking strip sack. He had other pressures, and then you were able to play off of that. And D Winters was getting in there. Tatum Bethune got in there. Like, that engine was running because you had Bryce Huff out there. Suddenly you didn't have Bryce Huff. You don't have that. And we've talked about this for years, right? Since the 49ers haven't had D Winters out there, the 49ers they never looked the same quite with their pass rush, because they didn't have a guy who could win, who was a speed rusher opposite Nick Bosa. That is Will McDonald. And again, it's not just about having a speed rusher. We saw it with Bryce Huff in Philadelphia. You have to have a complete plan with that speed rusher. It's how are you utilizing that specific skill set? Because that is a great skill set. But if all the guy has is a speed rush and he's only asked to line up and beat that tackle every time, well, then they will win sometimes, but it's not going to be nearly at the rate that is truly effective. So what the Houston Texans did is they came up with that pressure mug front. The reason that sets up that speed rusher is because your tackle has to block inside out versus pressure. So, think about, this is going to be painful, but think about the Super Bowl. Okay. We had Juwan Jennings open. What was the mistake? Spencer Burford blocked outside in. He didn't block inside out. And so you have Chris Jones coming free inside, and there's inside pressure, and it forces an incomplete pass that could have won you a Super Bowl. So you have to block inside out. You want the path to the quarterback to be the longest one is the one that you leave free. So if they come with an overload blitz, Will McDonald is going to be the guy, because he's the farthest player out there. He's going to be the guy that you leave free, and you leave it up to your quarterback to throw hot then. If you cannot block everybody, your quarterback has to understand that and throw hot. That's what a hot is. I know that the terms can get thrown around and people get a little confused on that. You have a hot on one side if you have an overload blitz to that side. You have a hot to the other side if you're overload on the other side. Almost all of Shanahan's plays have a hot on either side. Unless it's like a movement pass, then there's usually a hot that's only on the side that you're working to. So you have hots and they're there. But the deal was then Colton McKivitz has to make sure that inside pressure isn't happening. So it's snap, check, and then he's got to go and get Will McDonald. What that does is that gives Will McDonald an extra step. And now you're talking about a guy that has such incredible speed that if you give him a one-step advantage, he's going to win like 60% of the time against the entire league. And that becomes difficult. So the real trick is you can't be in third and long. That's the trick. And or even third and medium plus. Or if you do, you've got to really be, have guessed right on their coverage to win. And that's why that Houston defense, we talked about, they're number one in against the pass in almost every metric. And that's exactly why, is because they have a very cohesive plan of how they can line things up, how they can manufacture really positive matchups for those edge players. And then when you try and stop that, then they can suddenly come with some pressures and beat you, but they aren't a big, heavy blitz team, but you always have to be ready for it in case they do. And so they manufacture that stuff. But when we look at that, and I look at this defensive front, I mean, that does worry you. They don't run it the same way, but I mean, they have a very strong defensive front with the guys that they have that can, go get the quarterback and rush the quarterback. I mean, it's a pretty good group there. Now, I will say, that I think their linebackers can be attacked in coverage. That's what I think.
So, is there, from week to week? This is a question I'd like to know. From week to week, when you look at defenses like, so Will Anderson, and then the Giants. I mean, it's not just one guy. It reminds you. It's a baby version of. Let me get them all right. Strahan, O.C. Minora, Justin Tuck. Who am I missing, Johnny? Gosh, there was a fourth.
Yeah.
Womanura, Tuck,
Tuck,
Strahan. The chat will
Strahan.
get. Oh man, okay, but those
I
guys.
mean, it was where we get our
Oh,
NASCAR package idea from.
Jason Pierre Paul.
Jason Pierre-Paul,
Okay,
JPP.
okay, so those
JPP.
those four, yeah, you know
yeah.
me. All right, so those four, yeah.
No,
July
if you
4th.
know, you know, or
If you know, you
no, it's
know.
more like that. If you know,
Is
you
it
know.
Pinky? I don't know what he lost. Yeah. So those four guys, right? This is all that to say, this is the baby version of that. What I'm saying is, or what I'm asking is, does Shanahan look at that and really dive into and dissect from week to week? Or is it more, no, you got to respond to us, not, I'm not going to change my life around, well, these guys are a little bit better than average. So we can't run as many screenplays as what we normally do. Does it work that way? Or do you know what I'm asking?
I guess, like, are you saying, is Shanahan just going to say we're going to stick with what we do on offense, and
Yeah.
you have to try and adjust and stop us?
Yeah.
No, I mean, that's never been Shanahan's thing. Like, I know people will might disagree with me and say, well, Shanahan doesn't adjust and he doesn't evolve and he doesn't do. Absolutely, he does. And it's
It's
just
a loaded
because
question.
well, no, I'm just trying to think of, like, trying to communicate this in a way that's effective. Just because you see a run that looks like the same run you've ran 30 times doesn't mean it's exactly the same. And what I mean by that is, just because you see a wide zone doesn't mean that they haven't changed something in there. They're going to change the wide receiver split sometimes. And it's not even stuff that most people would even notice. Like, if a wide receiver is 1 yard farther out of the formation, most people, and I don't catch that half the time. Because you can really get buried in the minor details of everything. But I guess the best way to describe it is, or explain it, is Shanahan's really good, and that's why you're seeing so many teams come out in these condensed formations. Like people actually criticize Shanahan for that for years. Fans were of everything's inside. All these receivers, you don't see them spread it out, and so that's why the middle of the field seems so clogged in the passing game. And this is, like we heard those criticisms in 2019, 2020, 2021. You look around the NFL and almost every team, it feels like half the time they're lining up, those receivers are inside the numbers. That's not by accident. That's because everybody was watching what Shanahan was doing. And why? Why do they start doing that? Well, there's multiple reasons why. One, when it gives your receivers easier two-way goes. So it really gives them three-way goes. When they're in there, the defensive backs can't use the sideline as a help defender because they just don't have that room out there anymore. Okay, that's the easy answer. The more difficult answer is it's not like everything is just at a static set. There's little itty bitty variations. And the reason why is because teams have what are called divider rules. And there's rules about when a receiver is out past a certain point. What we're going to do is, for example, if a team's in man coverage past a certain point, a corner is going to play inside leverage because he's got a sideline help defender. That gives you a really poor blocking angle for your wide receiver if he's going to come in and block for an inside run, because now he's got to beat that corner to the spot. And so that's a really difficult block. If you bring him inside, suddenly those corners can't continue to play inside leverage. If they do, what ends up happening is you beat them on out routes all day long. You're literally just giving out routes there. Or you're if you start jumping the out routes, now you're doing an out and up, and you're getting burned like crazy. Defensive coaches never ever want to do that. So what they do is they say, past a certain point, we're now going to play outside leverage. At one point, you play head up, and at another point, you play outside leverage. And Shanahan is really good at figuring out where that is. He's going to watch the tape, and that's one thing that he sees. Another part is, okay, against one formation, depending on how close these guys are and where they are on the field, a lot of defenses you're seeing now, a lot of this comes from Nick Saban, is they're going to be up in bump. And the moment a receiver comes inside past a certain divider, like Nick Saban's is usually one yard outside the hash. Once you move basically closer, come inside more than 1 yard inside the hash, that corner goes from being in bump man to he's going to be in a deep third zone. And so now you've manufactured that you're not facing man coverage there, you're facing zone coverage. And so now I can stretch that guy. And if I release a certain way, so when you bring these in, it's going to stress divider rules, it's going to stress overhangs, it's going to stress leverage. So it starts putting a lot of stress on defensive rules. And so just because you see like this run looks the same doesn't mean that the exact way that they're lining up, the exact details of everything are the same. He's going to adjust those little things each week to the game plan and say, okay, this week, this team, their divider isn't 1 yard outside the hash. It's 2 yards outside the hash. And so what you may have is receivers now start lining up. They go from lining up at the hash to they're lining up 1 yard outside the hash because they want to stay just inside that divider rule, push that guy out just a little bit more, and he's still going to have a blocking angle to block the corner out. Or it says that corner now has to be forced defender. If I come inside, they're going to end up keep moving in, and now the safety's got to be the guy outside. It's like, where are you setting this blocking matchup? There's a lot of detail in there. So just because you see that we're running a wide zone doesn't mean, I know this is a really long answer, and I'm trying to explain something really complicated as clearly as I can without losing everybody. That just because things will look the same doesn't mean it is all the same. you are constantly adjusting to who you're playing against, to their scheme, their divider rules, their coverage rules. You're also going to be trying to scheme against that they have really good players in certain spots, and you don't like these matchups. We have been consistently trying to help Connor Colby because we don't like the matchup of Connor Colby in pass protection against a lot of defensive tackles.
Like against anybody.
Look, I started to say, like his second start, I said, you're going to see teams, what they're going to do is they're going to attack his outside shoulder and then make an inside move on him. I said that, right? Do you remember that, Adam? Like I said that weeks ago. Okay, a perfect example. We were playing the Houston Texans. They have Danielle Hunter on the outside. We put George Kittle over there. It was a 3rd and 9, I think. 3rd and 9 or 3rd and 7. They put George Kittle over there, and at the snap, Trent Williams is at left guard. He gives a stab to the defensive tackle to prevent him from attacking Colby's outside shoulder, because they've seen this, and they've seen teams are going after him in that way because he takes too far of a step. He doesn't have the balance yet. He's having a trouble anchoring. He takes a step out. They beat him inside. This is happening over and over and over again. So what do? You have Trent Williams say, we're not going to give you a 2-way go on Connor. We're going to give you a 1-way go. So he only has to protect inside. So Trent has to give us a quick help to Connor. And so to not have Danielle Hunter screaming off the edge, you have George Kittle chip him and block him up first and buy enough time for Trent to help Connor and then bail out and go pick up Danielle Hunter. That's why I don't like some of these like stats on, well, Trent Williams is giving up this pressure. Well, Trent's also being asked to give a help to Connor real quick, then go pick up a guy like Danielle Hunter late. That is a really tough job for Trent to do. Trent can do it because he's one of the most athletic left tackles that has ever played in the game. But that's an example. People say, well, why is Shanahan not helping this guy out? Why is he? Well, then you do that, and suddenly you can't stretch Houston zones, and you only have a 2-yard check down that you can get to because you don't have George Kittle going out in the pattern right away. So you can't stretch the zones there. You have a chip and release on the other side on Will McDonald because he's a blue chip talent. And you throw it down to Demarcus Robinson, and it's 3 yards short of the first down, and they make the tackle, and you're off the field. So, like, they are going to do things, but there's always there's an opportunity cost with everything. People say, well, it's crazy that Shanahan wouldn't help his tackle out here that's struggling. It's crazy that he wouldn't do that. There's an opportunity cost. Okay, you can do that, but now you might be throwing every pass short of the line to gain, because you can't really stretch the zones. And now you're putting more on banged up receivers like Juwan Jennings to break tackles and get you a first down. Because that's now what you need. You need to get a first down by somebody breaking tackle. Christian McCaffrey's getting so many targets in the passing game because he can do that. He's leading the league in forced missed tackles. And that's how we've gotten a lot of first downs. Sky Moore did it against the Falcons, and we got a big gain. But when it's not happening, then everybody goes, what are we doing? What are we doing? We can't get a first down. Well, somebody's got to be able to execute their assignment at a high level for things to happen. That's what you need to do versus the Giants in this upcoming game. It's like they're going to have to, at some point, linemen are going to have to win their one-on-ones. And this is a very good Giants front to do that again. Yeah. But if you really want to move the ball, then there's got to be some winning at a little bit higher rate, and there's just got to be a little bit more cohesion on how they play. I mean, I wasn't completely upset at either side last game. I was upset at both. The offense should have been more productive. At the same time, you were going against the best defense in the NFL, and your defense should have been able to get off the field a few more times. But they were also missing an incredible amount of pass rush. Their pass rush was so bad against the Texans. And Saleh took a lot of blame on himself. I think he was being a little self-effacing there.
Yeah.
He was a little hard on himself because he's trying to manufacture pressure. And it was like, I was watching like somebody who was just trying everything they can, and nothing is working.
He was like willing a pass rush. Like,
I mean, not even that. Like, I mean, like
He doesn't have
He's
players.
trying pressures. He's trying not pressures. He's trying 7-man coverage. He's trying 8-man
with the
coverage.
bodies that
He's
he
trying.
has.
Yeah, I mean, he's trying shifting everybody on this side, isolating Samo, like because you start having to overcorrect to produce anything. Because if you just line up 4, you are not getting home at all, not anywhere close, and you can't live with that. So everything you're doing to overcorrect opens you up for something else. And Nick Caley was just pressing into those things, and
Then you
it was
start
becoming
pressing.
real. Well, not even so much pressing. It's just like for example, you're getting hit
Bethune
for
was pressing.
16 yards. Well, you're getting hit for 16 yards on a draw play because you've put all your defensive linemen on one side, 3 on one side, and you're isolating Samo to give him a 2-way go on the tackle because you desperately want to have somebody who can operate in space. And Samo's your best pass rusher. That should tell you where you're at. And you do that, and they hit you for a 16-yard draw play. And then you're blitzing like crazy. Well, now your coverage guys have got to hold up, and we're not doing that really well. That's a lot harder when you have a Tatum Bethune out there, when you have Jair Brown missing tackles, when Renardo Green is struggling a little bit. All those things, like they're not helping each other out on that. What is a little, I guess, gives us some upside views is that the 49ers went out and made a trade this week. And they went and got Keon White to bolster the 32nd ranked pass rush. The 49ers are 32nd in the league in pressure rate. And I mean, people like some people aren't as high on pressure rate as I am. I think pressure rate is the most important stat. Sacks are great, but you can be number 1 in sacks and be like be middle of the pack in pressure rate, and your defense gives up a lot of points. We've seen things like that in the past because it can be feast or famine. Pressure rate tells you how consistently are you getting to the quarterback. You can be really bad in sacks, but because your pressure rate is so high, you're forcing every throw to be 3 yards or less, and your defense looks really good. It's really hard to score on them. When the 49ers are 32nd in the NFL in pressure rate. That just speaks to they don't, once Nick Bosa went down, it dropped big time. And then after Yetur Gross-Matos went down, it dropped even more. And then after Bryce Huff went down, it went in the toilet.
Yeah. Like, what?
So the good news is they went out and got Keon White, who his player profile is something that really fits what the 49ers do. So if you look at their kind of big end type guys, he fits that profile. Nick Bosa, a real big end. People have been trying to convince me that Nick Bosa plays at 260, and I'm like, no, ain't no way. Okay, for perspective, Leonard Floyd plays at like 248. So you're telling me that Bosa's only 12 pounds bigger than Leonard Floyd? Harold Landry plays at 254. Like 252, 254, somewhere around there. Like, you're telling me that Bosa's only 6 pounds bigger than Harold Landry? They're the same height, by the way. No, Bosa plays at like 280. Like, it's not even 270. Like, Bosa plays about 280. Dude is massive. So Bosa, you have that kind of 6'3", 6'4", 280 is around the kind of player profile for their base DNs. Michael Williams, he's 6'4", 6'5", and they think he's 6'5", 280, 285. That's where Michael Williams plays. And they like certain 10 and 20 yard splits from those guys. They like a good 3-cone from those guys. So that's their player profile. Sam O, he's 6'2". I think he plays at 275. He's added weight. He clearly has added weight. You can see him. He's a thick dude. He's really closer to 280. That is like their player profile for their big defensive ends. And then they have their smaller defensive ends, which are their speed rush guys. And that's Robert Beal. That's Bryce Huff. That was Travis Gibson. Like, all those guys, you look at their height, weight, their 10-yard splits, very, very similar. So, like, people will always they act like defensive end in the 49ers is just interchangeable. Okay, you have this guy, it's next man up. Well, no, you have certain player profiles for your scheme. It's the same thing with linebackers. We have player profiles for our linebackers. Nick Martin is undersized right now. He has the speed metrics, but I think they want him in the NFL, in an NFL building, adding weight. That's what D Winters did. He transformed his body. That's what Tatum Bethune did. He transformed his body. They want their linebackers to be about 230. They want to be able to fly at a certain rate of speed and everything. Nick Martin is just undersized right now. I think they're trying to get him to put on weight. That's one of the reasons he's not playing as much. He doesn't fit their player profile for what they want to do in their scheme. And people will say, well, you got to change it up and you got to adapt to who you have. No. You don't. Like, there are certain adjustments you can make, but when you have a scheme installed around certain player profiles and you draft for player profiles, that's why everybody grades draft prospects differently. And Keon White is a perfect example of this. You grade for your player profiles. That's what made Bill Belichick so good for so long. People be like, man, they just trade back and they get these guys in the third, fourth, fifth rounds that become these great players. Well, they drafted for their player profiles. So for the 49ers, they have that size, and Keon White fits that big end player profile. He's 6'5". They love length from those big ends. They want him between 280 and 290. He's 285, and he's got a decent 3-cone. He's got violent hands. That is a textbook, solid defensive end player profile. Why did he fall out of favor in New England? Because everybody's wondering, why did he ended up getting traded for basically a bag of Fritos, and probably the chili cheese Fritos, is what you think.
Those are better.
Well, it was better than a 7th round. But why did they let him go? Because he doesn't fit the player profile of what Vrabel wants to do at all. Vrabel is more the old school 3-4. He wants those lighter, smaller outside linebacker edge types. Landry is a perfect example. He went and brought Landry in. He drafted him in Tennessee, and then he's brought him over to New England. He plays at 250, 255. A 285-pound outside linebacker who you're asking to drop into coverage, which I watched Vrabel do. I watched the tape, and he was asking Keon White to drop into coverage and play coverage in space. No, you're not. Like, that is not a fit. You want to be able to scheme these things out. So, like, he didn't fit their outside linebacker type at all. And then you look at their interior guys. Now, they have one guy who's starting who's like 290, but everybody else on their defensive line, their defensive tackles, their 4 or 5 and their 4 and 5 techniques and their 0 techniques and 1 techniques, they're all 305 to 330. Like, they are big dudes. Joshua Farmer from Florida, which we had talked about a little bit. I saw him at the Senior Bowl. He was one of their draft choices this year, and because he fits their player profile for a defensive tackle, and he's like 330 pounds. They want those big anchoring defensive tackles. Think of their defensive front more akin to what Fangio was doing with us when he was under Harbaugh. Okay, more the Aldon Smith, Ahmad Brooks outside edge player types, and then like Ray McDonald, Isaac Sapuaga, those kind of guys inside. You have to be an extremely special player to be an inside player in that, and that was Justin Smith. That wasn't 315 plus. So, like, that's what Vrabel's doing. Keon White doesn't fit either of those. He just does not fit either of those profiles. He became expendable. Last year, he also publicly criticized the coaching staff. Teams don't like that. They don't like that. So, like, Keon White fit in no way fit what the Patriots wanted to do on defense. He was just, it was a square peg in a round hole. And so he was available for trade. So we went and got him, but he fits our profile really, really well. So that should give us a big boost coming up in this game. I don't know how much he's going to be able to ingratiate into the game plan. I'm sure they're going to get him out there in some way. They then also went and signed Cleveland Farrell, who had been with us in the past and played well. They need somebody to come in and bring a little more athleticism to be able to run some different stuff on third downs. And then we should get Yetur Gross-Matos back, who is having a really high pressure rate because he's a very effective rusher from inside on passing downs. So all these things should also really help Micah Williams, who is like second in the NFL for rookies in pressure rate. Most people don't realize that. that we just see that he's not getting the sacks. Everybody says, okay, Michael's not doing anything. Well, no, like he is. He's just doesn't have a lot of help. I mean, Alfred Collins, they need to get some of these guys more rest. Michael Williams also needs to be able to rest more, but they can't put anybody else out on base downs because nobody else can hold an edge. When you were looking at against the Texans, I mean, were you going to put Travis Gibson out there and have him hold up on the edge to set a hard edge? No. They tried it a couple times and he got blasted out. You can't, you weren't using Travis Gibson. You're going to put Robert Beal out there? Like, you don't have anybody that fits that profile after Sam O went down, especially. But you came to that game, the only ones that fit your base down edge profile was Sam O and Michael Williams because everybody else was hurt. So, these two guys should really shore that up. And the biggest thing is that will keep Michael Williams more fresh. It'll keep everybody a little bit more fresh as long as they can stay healthy.
So let's talk about that real quick because there was a super chat also to.
Apparently there's breaking news.
And yes, boats. That's Dolphin stuff. We already know that. Who cares?
Well, I mean, it's a big deal in the NFL. I'm gonna have to go over and look at
that. So Cayman's Island podcast says, when do you, and let's get through all the injuries. When do you believe we will have BA back? And I want to talk Ricky Pearsall. Let's go through it. Let's start with BA.
I think around Thanksgiving is the time that you're really going to actually see him come back. So, I mean, when they open his practice window, he's not going to be back that week. I don't think. Let's see, this is 32 seconds ago. I just found the statement from about the Dolphins. But anyways, yeah, I don't think that and my timeline had always been somewhere Thanksgiving to New Year's. That had always been since the injury happened last year. That was always my timeline. And I remember people jumped on me last year about that because when that injury happened, I was so mad. And it was like, what? He'll be back next year. And I was like, no, this was such a brutal injury. 2024 was already going so poorly. And then that game was already so bad that then you saw that Brandon Ayuk's injury. I was like, you've not only lost him the rest of this year, you have lost him for the bulk of next year. Like the majority of games next year. And people are like, no. He should be good to go by week 1. And I was like, not that kind of knee injury. If it was just a clean ACL tear, yeah, he probably would have been back week 1. But that kind of knee injury, it was always looking at that he was going to miss the majority of the year. If you got him back before game 12, you were going to be looking good. And that's probably about where it's going to be. Is probably game 12. I've been eyeing this since the injury happened. Was going to be Thanksgiving to New Year's is the window. I think he comes back. I still think that way. It's week to week. He might be activated his 3-week practice window next week. I think I would not be surprised if it's actually more like November 10th is when he gets activated. That's what I think. So, and then they're going to work him back in at that point. They're going to be very careful. Remember, he has a big injury guarantee. They're going to be very careful. They're not paying him this entire year, all that money to not suit up in any games. So they're going to be really careful. So yeah.
Okay. Ricky Pearsall.
Who knows?
What? Like,
I mean, it's a PCL injury. Those are usually about a month. Who knows? I mean, I have zero faith in this training staff. I have zero faith in them. So, here's a statement. Here's a statement from the Dolphins' chairman of the board, managing general partner Stephen M. Ross. He says, so the breaking news that the Dolphins GM is out. This morning, I made the decision along with general manager Chris Greer to mutually part ways. I have incredible respect for Chris and his family, and I want to thank him for his many contributions to the Miami Dolphins over the past 26 years. As I assessed the state of the team and in my discussions with Chris, it became clear to both of us that change could not wait. We must improve in 2025, 2026, and beyond. And it needs to start right now. Champ Kelly will serve as interim general manager effective immediately, and we will begin our search process for a new general manager. I want to thank Champ for stepping up and his commitment to the Dolphins' success this season. There's a lot of football left to play, and we all need to fight even harder. As I have always been and remain committed to building a winning team that consistently competes for championships. I'm incredibly proud of our leadership as an NFL organization and our continued commitment to the community. But our performance on the field and our team building process have not been good enough. There are no excuses. I want to thank the fans for their continued support and passion for this team. You deserve a championship caliber team you can be proud of. There's much work ahead to return the Dolphins to sustained success, and that work begins now, finishing the season strong, evaluating all areas of our football operation, and moving forward with a clear vision for the future.
That is the most ChatGPT BS I've ever seen. Not one word was literally thought out. It is exactly what
Well, it was very
I would have expected.
very, very politician-like.
Yes.
I mean, look, he's not throwing anyone under the bus necessarily, but he's trying to acknowledge that the team has not met expectations, that change needs to happen, and they're not going to wait around for it, and that the team they're trying to tell fans, don't give up now. We are still working to be better in 2025, but we're going to be better in 2026 and beyond. I do think this makes Bradley Chubb available. I've been saying it for a while. The trade deadline is in just a few days.
Yeah, less than a week, right? Like
it's Tuesday. So, and we saw Bradley Chubb got a sack last night. And people have been telling me he's washed. I think Bradley Chubb would make a lot of sense for the 49ers.
He'd be rejuvenated at a new program.
And I think at this point you can get him for a 7th round pick. I do.
Wow.
I would
Boats is saying a 5th.
No, I wouldn't do a 5th.
A 5th doesn't even make the team half the time.
Okay, well,
you wouldn't do a 5th?
Do you remember some of our 5th round picks?
Yes, Johnny, but come on. I'm just saying a 5th round pick, it does not. He doesn't tell his family that he's gonna make the team when he gets drafted in the 5th round. I'm just saying.
Oh, okay, but you have to keep infusing this team with youth, and so you need every pick you can have. You're not going to send a 5th round pick for a guy that's going to be gone probably in February, or at the beginning of March. Like, you're not sending a fifth for that. What I could see is the 49ers offering to swap 7ths, and maybe another 7th in 2027.
Do that? What they're
Because they need to unload the cap. This is clearly heading for a reset. I think what you will probably went down here is that that Greer didn't want to start offloading assets because he was trying to hold on to assets for Mike McDaniels, and I think the owner's already looking at this and saying, no, this season is done. It was actually done. You could have probably gotten more for some of our aging players and some of our big cap guys earlier. We need to start offloading some assets that aren't going to be with the team in 2026 and beyond. Bradley Chubb is one of those guys. They need to offload his contract. This will save him $38 million over the next 2 years. They need to offload him. So, I would be willing to move that. So, because again, with the way that this season is shaking out, the 49ers, you could look at being one of the top 4 teams come January, depending on the injury situation over the next 8 weeks. But a Bradley Chubb coming in, bringing, again, the defense that we've had has been strong through the first 8 games, and they are the 32nd ranked pass rush. Imagine if they have the 16th ranked pass rush, not even a top 10. They get a 16th ranked pass rush. How much better is this defense? And think about our offense getting better. I'm all about stockpile whatever productive pass rushers you can and rotate them in so that they can stay healthy, so that you're not overloading anybody. Go get Bradley Chubb right now. I would be putting in a call today about, and I'm sure there's calls coming in. Like, I'm sure that there's different calls coming in. You might have to outbid somebody else, but there's going to be interest in Bradley Chubb. He's got like 4.5 sacks on the year or something like that. So, like, you know, I would, I think they should pull the trigger. I've been pounding this drum for a while. Clearly, the Dolphins are headed for a reset. I mean, that was a game that ended their season last night. Absolutely ended their season. Has probably ended Mike McDaniels' tenure there. There just comes a point where this can't happen anymore. But for the 49ers, now is the time to pick the corpus, or pick the corpse. I say corpus, not Corpus Christi. Pick the corpse. Like, go after it, get what you can off that corpse, and improve your team. Like, absorb them and absorb whatever strength they have to make yourself better.
So I wonder, I don't want to get attacked, but at least I know I'll have Gizmo Maltese on my side. He says, "We're not doing."
Stop! No, do not say it. I know it's coming out of here. I will cut you off.
He commented it.
I'm pulling up the outro because I don't want you to do. You better dare not. What am I trying to say?
Look, Gizmo said it.
Don't try and pass the buck. You're trying to bring up the punting of the season again, and I'm not going to let you do it. Not going to let it happen, Adam.
Gizmo, I'm kind of with you.
Okay,
Gizmo,
you're whispering into the mic like a creeper.
Don't leave, Gizmo. Stay in the chat.
No. Oh
Gizmo.
my goodness.
Oh, you want him to leave?
No, and I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I'm not going to let you say that we're punting the season away. No, like, we're not doing that. And I'm like Robert Saleh. John Lynch, Robert Saleh will never say no to another pass rusher.
Look how mad you made him.
Well, I'm just like, there is a line I am drawing on this show. We are not talking about the end of the season, about the season not going anywhere in November. Not happening. Tomorrow is All Saints Day, so we're going to look on the positive side of it, and we're going to say,
and the Saints are starting Tyler Shuck. Shuck around and find out. Shuck around and find out.
Okay.
All right.
We're actually going to get Bradley Chubb. That's what I think. I don't care what you think, Adam. I know.
Predictions. Let's get into predictions, Johnny. I think it's time. How do you see this game going, and what is your prediction for the G-Men?
It's going to be, the 49ers are going to come out and really try and establish a run game. I mean, this is a game that I know we've been saying this for a while. Like, this is a game you put on the offensive line, and the offensive line has to step up. And they really haven't done that for most of this year because a team that's identity has been running the ball hasn't been able to run the ball. But you really got to do it now. Like, you really do. I mean, we've got to run the ball better. We are the 30th ranked run offense. That's not good. The only thing that makes it better is that, guess what? The Giants are the 32nd ranked run defense. They are the worst run defense in the league. So, just like the Falcons game, you should expect $150 or more out of your run game. This should be a game that you run the heck out of the ball, you neutralize those pass rushers, you attack their linebackers in coverage, and you go and you win the game that way. You make Jackson Dart play within the pocket, and you do those things. You're going to win this game 27-17.
Okay. I am going in the chat to say 24-20.
We should have had Adriana on. I was just thinking about that. Sorry. Your old friend.
So I will. I follow her. She's just very lovely. She posted the most funny reel that I have ever seen, and it was in regards to the Bronco game, in which they lost in the most weird fashion ever. And here is the quick take on it, and this is so funny. You can kind of see it. So she's in the car driving, and it says "Life of a Giants fan" is like the heading. She's driving and she looks at the camera and goes, like she's gonna like drive off the side of the road and goes, like, oh, just kidding. Then she has a knife, she's cutting a pie, and she goes, like, is she gonna slice her throat? Just kidding. And then she does like all these tasks where, oh, should I just kill myself because of the season? Just kidding. Ha ha ha. Like it
Dark
is so
humor.
funny. It is so it's just it's really funny. It's like life of a Giants fan. Yep, but we're doing great over here. Like, I mean, you just feel for her on that, like in that particular game regarding the Broncos game. So
Yeah.
um
Yeah. I
so
mean, which we're not I don't know. I'm checking the injury report for Brian Burns, where he's at. Um I think they put him on IR? I'm trying to remember. I'm gonna have to look this up real quick.
Oh, Johnny, while you do that, Strawberry Reacts just coming through always in the clutch. And you've said this, Johnny, so I'm going to use your own words against you too, because you agreed with this. The 49ers said they're only going to trade for players that will help them this year and next year.
Yeah,
And
I
you just
know. I
said
know.
that Bradley Chubb would be out of here. So eat
I know.
those
I know.
words,
I know they've
Johnny.
said it, but look,
Oh, well,
when you
here
start
we
looking
go.
at well, no. For real, who is the powerhouse in the NFC? Exactly. Exactly. That is why you don't hesitate to make a move. You have the 32nd ranked pass rush
So you
right
just go
now.
back on what you
You
said.
become at least 16th. You are in the conversation for one of the top 4 teams in the NFC. And if that's standing right now, you have no idea what's going to happen over the next 8 weeks. You don't just punt the season away. Like there is no clear-cut tier A team in the NFL right now. There's a lot of tier B. And the gap in those moves wildly from week to week. Like this is the most, I think, the most open-ended anybody could do anything with it this year.
But there are
Unfortunately,
four
it's
teams
starting.
that are
It's
better than us, that are like that you cannot argue. There are
name them.
four: Rams, Eagles, Packers.
We beat the Rams,
I
dude.
come on, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You can't.
Last I knew, in the NFL, when
Okay,
you beat
you
another
wanna
team,
you
it does
bet a
matter.
pie to the face that at the end of the year that the Rams will have more wins than the 49ers? You wanna make a bet? I'm
I'm
just saying
betting on that.
I'm just saying the Eagles, the
Okay.
Packers,
The bet will
the
be
Lions,
no,
and
it's
maybe
not
the
gonna be a pie in
Buccaneers.
the face.
That's
Not gonna be a
5.
pie in the face.
That's 5. That's 5 teams
The
that
bet
we
will
can
be
legitimately say, "That's
Adam,
5." I
Adam,
named 5.
Adam. The bet will be if the Rams finish ahead of the 49ers, you have to do a show with um we will let the
Yeah, well,
chat decide when
yes,
that
I'm good
time
with
comes
that.
of something written on your forehead.
I'm good
Uh
with that.
that's family appropriate, family appropriate. We're gonna
I'm
keep
good
it
with that.
G-rated here.
Yeah, yeah.
Um like so no. So
The
Brian
Rams
Burns
are
is
good,
the
just not
starting
against
defense
us.
coach.
That's what and Boat says that
No,
too.
but look, you can't make an argument with any sort of validity when you say the team we beat is better than us.
Oh, okay, but okay, let's go back and look. We beat who all have we beat that
We beat the
it,
Seahawks. They've been a very good team this year.
and they're up and down. I didn't put the Seahawks in that category, by the way. I said the Bucks, the Rams, the Eagles, the Lions, and the Packers. Those are the 5 that I said that are like you could say a realistic, non-biased person could easily give you 10 strong points that
Okay, the saying that the Packers are better than the 49ers is the red zone view of it. Like yes, they have some really impressive plays, but they could also be extremely dysfunctional on both sides of the ball for extended periods,
every
and they're not
NFC
playing up
team
to
could.
it.
How
So
about the Eagles? The
that's
Eagles
what I'm saying.
offensively have
That's what I'm saying. Like there is no clear cut. This is your 4 powerhouse teams, and the 49ers are clearly not even within striking distance. No, like
we're within
I'm not
striking
okay with that.
distance. We're within
If
striking
we're talking
distance.
about the 49ers that came out of Houston, yeah, that's not a team that's going anywhere. If you look at the 49ers maybe who lined up against the Saints or against the Falcons, you're saying that's a team that really has something here, considering what they did without what they should have by January. So that's the issue. Like, I'm saying that you have until Tuesday to go acquire assets. If it's me, I say, yeah, go get an asset right now. That's what I say. The Dolphins are in fire sale. They need to clear it. So, I mean, look, uh, that's my view, and I'm sticking to it.
All right. I hate
I'm
to
just
say,
saying.
I don't want to say I told you so when we look at the draft and we're like, well, we don't have maybe as many draft picks as we'd like because
What, like we
we
don't have
got it
3 first
for
round picks?
Bradley Chubb, who's now gone. Like, I, when everyone is hurt, I just don't like.
How did trading for Chase Young hurt our 2024 NFL draft?
Well, off the top of my head, I don't know the
Exactly.
details.
Exactly. Well, because you look at that
Well, we can look it
2024
up.
draft and you say, well, I don't think that there was anything there that really that was a good enough draft. It's a big foundation of what they're doing this year. So that actually didn't set the team back, but it really did give the team a boost to their passers, because as much as everybody liked to bag on Chase Young, it did really actually improve the pass rush. It wasn't enough because there was some scheme issues there with Steve Wilkes, but it did improve the pass rush, and it didn't handicap you for 2024.
So
So,
again,
the
I'm with
2024 draft.
Gizmo.
I'm just
This
saying.
Gizmo says nobody says give up, like just completely punt,
I
but
I
don't
understand,
invest
but
too
it's like,
much on this
don't
injury
keep
riddled season. When
but
when
that
all of our guys are injured and not just like, oh, for a couple games and we're gonna get Warner back by December. No, these aren't the kind of injuries that Bosa and Warner are having.
Warner says he's doing everything he can to get back by the time the Super Bowl rolls around. So, I'm just saying.
Oh, come
Just
on.
saying. Just saying.
Yeah, but come on, man. Like, that's like people saying Ayuk was gonna come back before November. What did you say? Come on, man. That's the
Yeah,
it's
but Ayuk's was always gonna be at least 12 months, a minimum of 12 months. Um, Fred Warner's injury is can happen around 4, and
I'm
that's return to play, 4 months.
I'm just saying I hate that a fan base, not ours. I would say maybe the Yankees, maybe sometimes the Packers have a fan base, definitely the Cowboys have what people would make fun of and say, "Oh, they just roll their eyes and say unrealistic. They always just say their team's going to be undefeated." And I'd like to think that the 49ers are not, but I'm biased because I'm inside of it. But if you talk to fans across the country, they may loop us in that of like, oh, 49er fans, yeah, they were good 30 years ago. Yeah, they've scratched the surface a little bit, but they always think their team's going to win and they don't set realistic expectations. Like, I don't like doing that. I'm a real person with real, like, I just
I'm a
see
real
I'm
boy.
a real boy. Like, it's the same thing with the Warriors. I don't think the Warriors are going to win 60 games or 55. I think they may be an 8, 9 seed, but the Warrior fans are like, yeah, we're going to be the top seed. Like, come on. Or people that are like, yeah, the Giants got a manager who's never been in the big league. So now we're going to win the World Series. No, it doesn't. That's not a thing. Like, be realistic. I want the Giants to be good. I want the Warriors to be good. I'm faithful to the Bay. But let's just be real about it. If it's not your day, it's not your day. I still want my team to win and I will still love them. But let's not give the farm away because we're just hopeful and we just like, let's be realistic and build for the future.
Nobody
That's
is
all I'm
saying give the
saying.
farm away. Since
Well,
when is
and that's
like giving a
fair.
7th
Yeah,
round
that's
pick
fair.
or
No,
a
I went
swap of
extreme.
6 in
I went
2027 going to
extreme
be
for
giving
sake
the
of the
farm
sermon.
away?
Look, for sake of the sermon, I went extreme. You can do that sometimes. But yes,
No,
get
we
what
don't do that
I
here.
get what you're saying. Oh, we don't do that here. Yeah.
Nope, never.
So that's my
Look, fact is there's only 2 teams in the NFC that have more wins than the 49ers. 2. And they only have 1 more win. I mean, that's just the facts. And that is the Eagles and the Buccaneers. Those are the only 2 teams that have more wins than the 49ers. So, if you're in that position, you do not just sit and say, if we have a chance for a very late round pick or swap of late round picks to go get somebody who can improve the worst pass rush in the NFL, if we're in the middle, then who knows what could happen against anybody in any given week, then you do it. That's my point. That is my point, and I'm standing on it. And with that, I'm going to give you the last opportunity, Adam, with a different question. I'm going to say, what? Okay, you get to have two absolutely nots of this cannot be written on my forehead at the end of the year when the 49ers are finished ahead of the Rams. And so real quick, give us those two. I'll give you a minute to think about it.
No, I will. I already got it. There is nothing as